Hey everybody, welcome back to Four Good Brothers. I am Stefan. We got Kev, Fred, and Lavelle. Once again, we're just here to stimulate some thoughts, get y'all's opinion on some stuff. Hey, I appreciate you all putting comments in. Once again, continue to put comments in, give us your feedback, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that nice stuff that Fred let y'all know last week. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we will be interacting with you. Today we're gonna touch on a serious topic, and we're gonna ask, can you redeem yourself, or if you've done a wrong, can you come back from it? We got two real good examples, and I personally feel differently about each person, so we're just gonna kick it off. Most of you grew up in a certain age and a time where one of the best examples of a black family you saw would have been what?
The Cosby Show.
The Cosby Show.
Heathcliff Huxtable.
And Family Matters. Those was the two.
Those was the two. So when you look at the Huxtables, even though the name of the show was the Cosby Show, does everything that Bill did in his life no longer valid because of some other things that he has been, some say convicted of, some say accused of? We don't really know. It was before my time. I wasn't born when all this stuff happened. With some funny things going on in the world there, but that part is what it is. So we'll do it a little bit differently. I'll start off with myself. I think that the Cosby Show was a great representation, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, of what an African-American, really upper class family looked like in New York City, but still dealing with the stuff that everyone else dealt with. I, at that time of my life, as a preteen, teenager, I can tell you I didn't know any black families where the dad was a doctor and the mom was a lawyer. Just did not know. Quite frankly, I didn't, once I moved to the suburbs, I didn't even know any Caucasian families. Realistically, I didn't know any families with that dynamic in them coming up. So I know that was good to see. 20, 25 years later, now all of a sudden, Bill slipping roofies to women. People are, the Me Too movement, people coming out the woodwork with all these accusations. I think it was might have been Larry King or the interview when he was talking about giving people quaaludes back in the 70s. The Playboy Mansion era, which most young men, I came up, I seen the movies and the commercials, I'm like, Playboy Mansion looked like the place to be. The things that happened in the Playboy Mansion. Do those discredit all the philanthropy that him and his wife did, all the donating to HBCUs, all the talk that he was doing, even though Bill didn't like rap music coming up. He didn't like rappers and thought that hippity hoppity stuff was bad.
Hippity hoppy.
But that was one of his things. Even though he was basically rapping in Fat Albert, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like? So we'll start with Bill, and I'll give you my take on it. I don't discredit everything that he did to push the culture forward, and even the giving back that he actually did with some of the personal discretions. I also put time frames, and it may be giving people credit and giving people grace, but I also put time frames into perspective. I'm an 80s baby, so I only saw the movies and what was going on in the 70s. A lot of that stuff was going on in them hippie, free love, and Woodstock, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is one of those things. I do not discredit anyone's story or anyone's what happened to you, and you can come out whenever you want to come out. But I do find it strange that 70-year-old women are coming out talking about you raped me 30 years ago. You gotta understand, I'm not discrediting what happened, and I understand it takes people time to process everything that's going on, but that snowball effect and the kind of tearing down of a person and they're strengthened. There's strength in numbers. So I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but what I'm really doing is giving both sides of the coin, because this situation is both sides of the coin. No one in this room is there. It's just really food for thought. So that was my take on it. Both of y'all got on green. I think I'm gonna have to go with the veil.
Mm-hmm.
What is, first of all, what is your take on the redemption and forgiveness? And then you can kind of go into the specifics of what, and this is only what we know, what we saw on TV from the Cosby situation.
Well, I do believe in redemption. I do believe in second chances, third chances, fourth chances, because I believe in grace. I believe in grace and mercy for that, especially because all of us have done wrong. Despite the severity of the issues, whatever it is, all of us have sinned. I do believe in forgiveness as well. As difficult as that is for most people, we talked about it in our previous podcast episodes about that forgiveness. I do believe things can be forgiven, people can be forgiven, and him as well as many others can also be forgiven too. So that's just a quick biblical response to that. Let's not forget Saul was a murderer and a man who put thousands of Christians in jail, turned his life around, and is if not one of the biggest biblical people of our time. So are people discrediting him because of his past and what he did? They didn't forget, don't get me wrong. The Bible shows that he did. Shipwreck, jail, people tried to kill him. But are we going to discredit everything that he did for the glory of God too? So when it comes to Mr. Cosby case, I am not a fan of canceling culture. I'm not a fan of that. Do I believe if you have done the crime, you should pay the time? Is that right?
Jesus Christ, no.
You was close.
Do the crime.
How
pay
do
the
you
time,
remember
right?
all these Bible scriptures and be tearing up some cliches?
That's it, right? Do the crime, pay the time. Is that not it?
You're close.
It's close enough, but that's
Well,
not
what is it? Do the crime, do the time?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jesus.
We knew it was in there.
well, you pay for it anyway. Shoot, so unless you got bail.
You pay the car.
And
You put the
y'all
quarter
know
in
that
the parking meter, and then the car don't get towed.
Look, amen. Pay for it. I do believe if you have done the crime, you should do the time.
But then you also believe, if I'm hearing you correctly, that once you've, and this is a problem in America. This is a problem in American culture. You also believe that once you've paid for or you've atoned for your sin, you should be able to move forward in your life.
Yes, I think you should. I think that person should be able to move forward. But because of people, they're always going to bring it back up. But I think that person, especially if that person has moved on from it and is no longer doing the same thing that they used to do, yeah, I think they should move forward from it. But most people won't do that. Most people don't have the maturity to move forward because as soon as that person annoys them, irritates them, that memory is going to come right on back to say, well, I remember what you used to do. So I say all that to say I don't like it. I don't like canceling folks. I don't feel that what he did, we should cancel everything that he's done. And I do believe he has done the time for it, regardless, even if he never got in, even if he never went to jail. I believe, this is just me personally, I believe that you will pay for it sooner or later. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's still going to eat at your conscience. One of them days. Or if not, we'll see you in hell.
So I think that's the difference between justice and accountability, what you're talking about, though. accountability is, people get those things, I think, a little bit misconstrued. Like, accountability is what the justice system does, but the justice system isn't justice. Justice belongs to one person, or some people take it into their own hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you're talking about is the difference between justice and accountability. I think those are two different things. But yeah, finish your thought on that though.
Well, I was just gonna say I don't disagree with you, but even if that's the case, I still think you've done something wrong, and rather that looks like justice being served or even being held accountable to it.
I get where you're going, but when I go to you, Kev, I want to kind of re-level, so I want to make sure that we answer the question.
Yeah, for sure.
So the real question is that, to me, I have done great things for 20-something years of my life. Within those 20-something years, maybe I've done some questionable, some sketchy things.
Mm-hmm. That's
They come out 40 years later,
mm-hmm.
but I've been doing good things across these entire 60 years. Does that negate all the good that I've done? Doesn't negate it? Because you got to think, and here was my issue with the Cosby Show when all this stuff first came out. Remember, they took it off
everything.
They took it off all the networks.
Cancel culture. Yeah.
They canceled everything. So they took this representation, and my whole thing with this was I had to remind people that the character that he played, the motivational character that he played Heathcliff Huxtable. That was the character that he played. The man who committed the crime, either allegedly been convicted, got overturned, whatever the judicial system said, that was for Bill Cosby. Mm-hmm. So how are we separating the two? Because I think that the Cosby Show, even if someone decided to change the name to the Huxtables, was what the show was really about, that still had good influence and could still be productive in today's society as a good influence of what a nuclear family looked like.
I think my simple answer to should it negate all the good works? No. And before I say that, I want to first preface that as a group, we are not condoning the mistreatment of women or anybody for that matter. We are sensitive to the subject. We acknowledge that these stories likely have some validity and not discrediting anything that anyone has said regarding the matter. With that said, it doesn't negate the good work as far as the representation that the Huxtable family created for the black community. You talk about the philanthropic work that he did with the HBCUs. And also, I think it's a bit humbling for the black community because we have the tendency to grasp on to any level of leadership that we can identify. So like at the time, the Huxtable family, that was like, yo, this is dope, this is awesome. We did the same thing with Martin Luther King, despite his some of his discrepancies in his marriage. Everybody's human. Everybody does make mistakes, and I'm not condoning any of the things. But when it comes specifically to that, you can't negate the good work. And I also think that a deeper issue is that specifically for the black community, we grasp on to anybody that we see that we think is positive for the community or for the culture because we're so desperate for leadership in general. So we grasp on to it. Up until that point, Bill Cosby didn't give us a reason to doubt any of the good works. And I also think on a more like global scale, acknowledging people that we idolize that have also done similar things, but it doesn't come to light the way that it did. So if I'm not mistaken, like Elvis Presley's like first wife was like 14. And he's like God to people, but no one talks about that aspect of it. So I think there's that piece, and something that people don't talk about a lot, which is why you know that certain things are self-serving for business. All these allegations didn't come out until he was looking to purchase a part of NBC.
We ain't supposed to get to that part yet.
Well, we here now. We here. Am I saying that these things that he has been convicted of did not happen? That's not what I'm saying. They probably absolutely did happen. No, not probably. They happened. They happened. And there's no way you can have an employee of a major network like NBC and not know that these things were happening. You swept those things under the rug until it
For 40 years.
For 40 years until it affected your bottom line. I think it's very convenient that these allegations started to come out when he was looking to purchase my majority, being a majority stakeholder in NBC. And I want to know if there was any follow-up from the victims and not just pursuing legal matters against Bill Cosby, but also against NBC, or were they the ones who like, yo, yeah, they reached out to them like, hey, you remember when you talked about that one thing? Now, I'm not saying that makes it right or wrong. And where I draw the comparison to, and I have a follow-up question to the group before we get to Fred, and we can noodle on it. We don't have to answer that right now. I think very similarly to the Deshaun Watson allegations. If you are man, woman, whomever, however you identify, and you have been victimized and wronged that deeply, should there ever be a situation where you should take an out-of-court settlement? Because if something has been violated at the root, like, of your core and of your being, there's no amount of money you could give me to make me go away. All of the women in the Deshaun Watson, well, no, I won't say all. I think it's like 24 to 32 allegations. Somebody fact check that because that may not be accurate. They settled with the NFL. They settled with the Texans, and they settled with the Deshaun Watson. If you have been violated that wrongly, should there be an amount of money that you should take? And what is it really about, if so? So that's my take on all of that.
Mr. James, are you ready, or you want us to answer? Or you want us to answer Kev's question? Because I have an opinion on Kev's question, but I want you to afford you the opportunity to speak first.
The whole Bill Cosby thing. I want to reiterate, like you guys have said. I'm not speaking or disregarding what people, how they feel, what they've been through, or anything like that. My viewpoint on it is this: very simple, 2 points. It is very easily for me to separate the man and what he did for the culture versus what he allegedly did behind closed doors. It's very easy for me to separate that, only because the things that he's accused of, that he was accused of doing, although those things are wrong, and I'm in agreement that they're wrong, it still doesn't take away from the good that he did. There's countless people. I mean, hell, we see it in our politics, and from our president all the way down to our local officials. We see it from the pulpit all the way to the deacon board. We see it all the way from the musicians in the church to the praise and worship leaders. We see it in every aspect of life and entertainment when we deal with artists, you know, whether it be, and I know we're going there, I know that, but not just yet, but we see that in every aspect. And so, again, like Kev stated, everyone, I don't even know if I like the word mistake though no more. It's not a mistake if you keep doing the shit.
Bill, and I agree with you because Bill's wasn't a mistake.
That's what I'm saying.
And this is the thing, because I'm gonna bring him into it, because we talk about the Hollywood and this aspect of it, even with the Harvey Weinstein thing, because he was made. I don't know, and I agree with you. I don't know who he ticked off, but he got in trouble for doing something that there is a term for, and there's been a term for.
Yeah.
It's called the casting couch. So there is a term for what he was doing. So that means it's out in the open.
That means it's been happening.
Everybody knows what's going on. You know, if an executive producer or a casting director, you a female, and you get a call back to come to somebody's hotel room, there's a 50-50 shot that you know what this is about. That's male or female.
Well, see, that's the thing though. That's where I was going. It goes back to what you were saying when we first opened up. We weren't back in those times. I'm born in '79, but I'm an '80s kid, right? So we talking about they popped the Quaaludes. He admitted to it though. It's like, yeah, I mean, you talking about Woodstock, all these different times. This is what they doing. Mm-hmm. This is the drug of choice. Everybody's feeling good. You know, get you look now. You know, you hear nowadays. I mean, that term's probably gone now. But they were talking about like,
X.
well, not. I'm saying like it's for present day. That the term that you heard people say in our time. You know, they say goose gets you loose. Like people drinking, you know, Grey Goose, whatever, right? So this is as life has evolved, the drug or the drink has become different. So again, I'm not saying it's okay, but if I just don't feel like he's that cynical of a man to go on Larry King Live and to say, yeah, I was getting women Quaaludes. Because in his brain, he has to know that there's no statute of limitation, that he admitted to that he couldn't get in trouble. So in his brain, he had to think like, well, the women that I've done this with, it was mutual consent.
He knew what was going on.
So my thing is, to Kale's point, none of this crap came up until the purchase of NBC came up, and then it was like, and then I mean, I'm not disregarding any woman, anything like that, right? But come on, man, we talking how many women was it? I mean, just we talking about time when he was recording movies with Sidney Poitier and Diana Ross and Richard. I'm talking about Red for all these old movies, and you know what I'm saying. I'm like, come on, man, and you gonna sit here and all of a sudden these women are coming out of the wood. Some of these women could be dead or not, you know what I mean? And then my thing is, did any of them? They was seeking reparation for it though. So you clearly know that there's money involved because he was trying to purchase NBC. But that's the thing though, and closing on that situation for me. What happened at the end? Bill Cosby was in jail for a period of time. He got released. All charges was dropped, proven not guilty. Now, if we talk in the justice system, I mean, in my clear vision, I'm not right, but I mean, pretty much all the time, anytime a black man get in the justice system, something like that, he get convicted. Bill Cosby walked.
But you gotta.
That speaks volumes to me.
You gotta fact check that, because I don't believe he walked. It was
a discrepancy.
It was a discrepancy in how he had.
It was a plea deal.
Yes, it was, and this is where I said this before. It was financial, not racial, where he found a way to, in one of the cases that he pleaded out to, he found a way, his lawyer struck a deal with the justice system that he could not be prosecuted for anything else that was somehow, you're gonna have to fact check this, I'm summarizing, something that has to do with this case, you could not be prosecuted for it again. And it was in writing, it was a loophole, they got everything out there, But that comes back to having the money and the right lawyers, and it is what it is, in my personal opinion, padding the right pockets to make this stuff go away. That's how the justice system works.
I'm just still tripping on that though. I mean, and I'm with that. I'm just, it's just ironic to me because how old is Bill Cosby, man?
About to die.
Let me look that up. Yeah, I think he's in his 80s. I know that.
Like late 80s, early 90s maybe. The man is blind, yo. He's blind, and all of us.
85.
85.
Here we go.
He's 85 years old. And the man is blind, walking around with a guide. And then all of a sudden it comes up. It ain't. I just feel like.
And we're not saying that.
I'm not saying it didn't happen.
I'm with Kev, and I think you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm 98% sure that all this stuff happened, but it was all going on in that era. Sort of what you were saying. We all came up in the era that if you went out to the club or to the bar or lounges, there were certain things that we did and how we approached women that would not fly today in 2022. And I'm talking about stuff that was happening in 1999, 2000, 2001, within the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
It just would not fly today. The Me Too movement, and just being honest, it has some men scared to approach women because realistically, you can't say you look nice today.
That's true.
You can't. You can try that at work if you want to. That's not gonna fly. That was a common practice, telling the female that you look nice or you're very attractive. You can't do that stuff anymore.
And I movements like the Me Too movement get skewed because it ends up doing the opposite of what it was meant to do. The Me Too movement was meant to bring to light inequitable conditions for women and how they're approached in the workplace and so on and so forth. But then what happens, it has this reverse effect where now like men don't have any rights, because the same way some men flirt with women at work, some women flirt with men at work. And how is that applicable for men when it's reciprocal? Because someone could just easily be like, oh, I don't, and with sexual harassment, a lot of people don't know this, you could be engaging in conversation with somebody else can hear you saying it, and it's still sexual harassment because they're not comfortable with the conversation. So I just feel like it's one of those things where like movements and policies have to affect all people.
All right, so now we're gonna take this in a different direction. So we're gonna bring up another man. Some people call it a myth, some people call it the truth, and it is what it is. We're gonna bring up the aura, Mr. Robert Kelly. So at this time, I'm pretty sure we've all seen or heard about the surviving R. Kelly and the cancel culture behind R. Kelly. I got musicians in the room. They'll tell you about the greatness that
We
is.
do. Musicians.
We'll talk about the greatness that is R. Kelly. I don't know how many #1 records, people falling out, bringing Chicago stepping culture to the world. He did a lot of great things, but then we can never forget the infamous tape, which kind of started this downward spiral of how, in my personal opinion, he used his position, his power, to entice what his fetish was, which was for young women. So does that take away from his musical genius? My opinion.
Well, let me get in there. Let me get it first.
Did you get it first?
Yeah, let me get it first.
With the fur.
Alright, so look, check dig, right? First, the first thing I'm gonna say is if you've never seen Surviving R. Kelly, if you don't got a strong stomach, don't watch that shit. Because that was real. I am someone who to me, sexual assault, molestation, all of those things are the strongest offense that you could do to somebody, and you deserve to be incarcerated. So that's not what we're talking about, but I wanted to preface that. Here are the challenges or the problems that I have with the R. Kelly case, though. We're not asking the right questions and not making sure that the right people are accountable. From experience in the mental behavioral health realm, people that are victimized become predators sexually. R. Kelly's brother mentioned that they had sexual abuse history. I believe was it a cousin or an aunt, one of those?
I think it was multiple family members.
Multiple family members. With that breeds like the inappropriateness of relationship and all of those other things. So the first challenge I have with that is with the black community and sweeping family issues under the rug when he should have gotten help. He should have received, him and his brother, his family should have received therapy, the supports and the resources that he needed. That's my first issue. Other issue is, does it take away from his musical genius? No, absolutely not. Is what he did real? Yeah. And given that these allegations have been ongoing since the 90s, as a parent, why were you allowing your child to be in the same space with R. Kelly, given the multiple allegations prior to the documentary coming out? Because my thing is like, when family therapy happens, and you have to explain to your daughter that you are the one that initiated them even having a relationship with R. Kelly, that accountability comes back on the parent, not on R. Kelly. Also, from a street standpoint, I've never, ever, and I could be wrong, I've never seen a RICO case where one person got locked up. That's the exact opposite of a fucking RICO case.
You can't have a RICO.
You can't have a RICO with one person. So everybody on his team that admitted taking him to playgrounds and the parking lot at McDonald's seeking out underage girls, they should all be locked up too.
So let's
That's yeah.
So you're saying that you're separating Robert Kelly, the person, from R. Kelly, the musician.
Yes, and also want to highlight that men can also be victims of sexual abuse, and those same resources need to be pursued by the black community.
Okay.
Because he should have gotten, it's actually a pretty sad story. He should have gotten help a long time ago.
Agreed, 100%. Lavelle, what's your take on it? Nope, you ain't got nothing. Here's my take on it. R. Kelly, for me, when you take it up from a legal standpoint and you talk about the RICO, he was running a continual criminal enterprise. Because at one point, I don't even think it was about the money for R. Kelly, it was about getting these little girls. And it was, and the more and more I think about it, it was even a running joke at one point in like the 2010-ish era, where they were showing pictures of R. Kelly, and we're talking about the way he was dressing, because he was dressing like a high school kid.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the way R. Kelly was still dressing. But then it came out that they were still taking him to the same McDonald's in Chicago, down the street from the high school, when it let out. Because when you was in high school, if it was a McDonald's or something close to it, you congregated there.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. It was just one of those things. My other issue with R. Kelly was, my biggest issue is that song. Age ain't nothing but a number. You singing that with a child who you eventually tried to marry. 100%, I don't think anyone is going to disagree with the handlers and the people around him are held accountable. Also, the parents, even with the young lady, the artist, who honestly I don't think if him and the Sparkle chick would have never had a falling out, she would have never brought up the fact that her niece was in there. And then it was, now we got a big issue with it, but there's no way. And I only have nieces, my only child is a son. But even with my son, I'm not about to leave my 13-year-old son somewhere with a bunch of adults that I really don't know.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, that I really alone. So it ain't even. It's not even like he got a friend or a cousin or it's 10 kids. You know what I'm saying? We talking. You leaving minor females alone dolo with this person. But then again, when you start watching it, like they say with everything else, is that you got to follow the money. Part of me feels like these families were realistically they were selling their daughters in.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that goes to where do your priorities lie? Like, just because somebody on R. Kelly's team approached you and was like, I can make your daughter a star, that don't mean that you go live with the person for years and you ain't got no contact with your child.
But some of those parents, remember in that documentary, it was they went to the concerts and they went to the meet and greet under the guise of, I think my child has potential. I think my child is going to be a star. And it's not unheard of for people to hand their children over to the manager or to the producer to further their career.
But you need to be in lockstep with them. Then you need to be a part of that process.
But there's a lot of people. There's other examples that aren't like what he. Here was the sad part about it was, and they say it's the genius in the plan. When you look at it from that industry, it's not as abnormal as it sounds. Besides, when you get into the sexual stuff. Now, after any of these kids, I'm gonna even call it after 2010. Anything after 2010, where we from the inner city. The tape was out there. The tape was in every barbershop. It was everywhere.
I watched it at the barbershop.
It got to the point where the tape was running so rampant that you had to start reminding people, saying, hey, if this is real, you're going to go to jail. If you get caught with this tape, you're going to jail because this is child pornography. You do understand that.
Yep.
And in the black community, the tape had been circulating so rampantly that we had to take a step back and realize, I understand that this is R. Kelly, but if this is true, even if it's not him, if this is true,
that's still
we
underage
know
girl.
this is underage girl.
Sure.
This is that child pornography. I think that's the only thing that once it really hit, that stopped the circulation of the tape. But as a parent, once you knew that this was a possibility, to your point, you should have never left, even it gets to the point where associating them with them, but you should have never left a child, to your point, male or female, alone with this person because they have an issue.
And I want to be fair, and also I know that I seem very accusatory towards the parents because I am, and I also want to acknowledge that may have been the predatory nature of R. Kelly because he was identifying those families based on their social economic status.
I think that
That's bullshit.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say something. Get in there.
We was waiting for you to get back there, but here's the thing, and here's where we was not on the same page, is that some of that stuff, the grooming is just like what we were talking about the Michael Jackson and Macaulay Culkin thing, kind of off air. The grooming of a child star, part of that is being taken away from the normality of what every other kid goes up to and they're growing up of, because if you really have this talent to be a superstar, you're not going to be a normal child anymore. You're just not going to be normal. Ronnie is not normal. He got people around him, but he's not a normal high school child.
Yeah. So the thing that bothers me about all of this, what you said from the jump, Kev, is this thing is very simple. Again, it's not to disregard what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally wrong. The question is, can we separate the man or the sense of the music?
Can I say one more thing about the music part and the musical genius? If people really pay attention to R. Kelly's music, he had been asking for help the whole time. The music was a vessel for him to ask for help because people were so enamored with him, the artist, they weren't giving him the help he needed as a man.
Sustained right there. Separating the music from, well, I ain't even get into all that because I believe you can. I just want everybody to know I'm looking directly at the camera. R. Kelly is the greatest writer of all time that I've ever encountered in my life. I could care less who has anything else to say about it. He's a great writer. He's a genius. The music is phenomenal. I will forever listen to it because I just think it's great music. Now, if we're going to deal with music industry, okay, we can go back to. I'm not accusing anybody, but we start dealing with childhood prodigies and stars. How old was Stevie Wonder when he was great as little Stevie?
His first one was
Okay,
7.
thank you, Bill. All right, so Tevin Campbell.
I forgot what
He was at least 13.
He was like 12, 13 years
Yeah.
old,
Yeah.
right? Can We Talk was not even, that was in his, early 20s?
I think so.
I think that was in his early
Probably
20s.
maybe even younger.
Might be, okay.
Late teen, maybe.
But so the reality of it is though, look at the industry though. He's singing, he was singing mature songs as a 13, 14-year-old. All right, so in the music industry, they have to groom you. They give you a whole facade. They don't want your age to be known because you have to appeal to all these different people. Now, I know you said off air, but the whole Michael Jackson thing is no different from dealing with Michael. Michael always stated that he never had a genuine childhood.
My bad, I hit you hard.
He never.
That's exactly what I said.
He always said that he never had it. Why? He was constantly rehearsing all the time. His father, listen. They performed in juke joints as the Jackson 5. They performed in what do you gentlemen's clubs, strip clubs, right?
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, one of Michael Jackson's first encounters of a naked woman was them singing in a strip club, and they were supposed to get off. You know, they got done with their set. Then the stripper came up, and he caught vision of the woman and was like, "Whoa, what is that?" He never had, you know what I'm saying? So if you're constantly going through these chastisements, whippings by your father, those kind of things, you don't have this normal childhood. You're always out in front of everybody. I'm not okaying if Michael Jackson did anything with anybody. I'm not saying none of that. What I also am saying though is that we're talking about mental health and nobody's looking at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't take away the fact that things that they've been accused of is wrong. It's definitely wrong.
Sure.
I'm simply saying this is why I think we're able to separate man or woman, right? In what they have, what their call to greatness is, their talent. You can separate that from them as a person, because clearly there are some things going on in up here in their mindset that is not.
We all come to the table with a certain level of baggage.
Right. So
Yeah.
the whole R. Kelly thing, I'm with Kev because my first awareness of Robert Kelly is him writing for the Winans on the Final Cut record.
Which a lot of people don't know.
They don't even know that. Payday's coming after a while. Robert Kelly was writing this record. So the Winans family knew who he was. They met him. They introduced him to the industry, right? He was a writer. So next time we see him on the scene, and anybody who's watching, please respond. And if I'm wrong, but the next time we see him on the scene, he's with his brothers group. Public Announcement was the brothers group, but he became the lead singer. After that Public Announcement record, he broke off. He dropped 12 Play. Clearly, he was learning all these different things in the whole industry. You can listen to the record and you can tell which way R. Kelly was, what kind of artist he was gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is that when you start going through his career and you're looking at, he did the You Saved Me album. He did a gospel record. He also recorded with Kurt Franklin, Mary J. Blige, Bono. Who else was on that record, Lavelle?
Crystal, the white Crystal.
Yeah.
Crystal Lewis.
Crystal Lewis. He records that this song because he has these roots in the church, right? There's some confusion going on here. There's clearly confusion going on, but you trying to tell me that these people are not sitting around him? These accusations have been going on for a while. We talk about the whole
This was post.
That's what I'm
the first
saying.
tape.
We talking about the Aaliyah situation. The parents signed off on that. He didn't just elope with her and they forged something. The parents signed off on that.
The story was that they forged something. You know, that was, and that's one of those things where
So-
it's always going to be one of the
Yeah,
stories.
right.
But then me and Kev, I think everyone's into agreement where, and Kev was being a little bit nicer about it. It was that the parents, in all the situations that we talked about, the parents are, in my opinion, held as accountable
Yeah.
as the accuser.
Yeah, everybody getting paid.
As not because everybody's getting paid, but the other part of it is that some people, realistically, they do it. You can legally sign for your minor child to get married. You can legally do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. So because of the name that's attached to it, it makes it a bigger story. My issue with R. Kelly is that I feel like he was using his celebrity to continue to get what he wanted.
So
That's where, let me finish that. That's where I differ between him and Bill, because with Bill, the fact that even though I'm saying these was all consenting adults, just like we said in the interview, we said, hey, you want one of these Quaaludes, or it just is what it is. I don't care who you are. I'm one of these people. If you wake up and you get the invite to the Playboy Mansion, 85% sure something's going to happen at the Playboy Mansion. It's one of the things where you're a married man, you just ain't going home and saying, "Hey, honey, they say I can come to the Playboy Mansion. You cool with me going to hang with
I agree.
buddies."
R. Kelly, of all the people we mentioned, was way more predatory.
I see that, and that's where
I know that bothers you, but I was going to say more about it.
No, that's where I beg to differ, because I think in that aspect, if R. Kelly is predatory, right, then that means that Bill Cosby is, Deshaun Watson is, and why is that? Because they have a platform at a level that the normal person does not have. So at the end of the day, if one person is accused of being a predator and using that platform, then hell, everybody is it. Everybody has that ability. You mentioned Elvis Presley in the beginning. We can talk about Michael Jackson. We can talk about R. Kelly. We can talk about Bill Cosby. We can talk about Deshaun Watson. We can talk about a plethora of people. Hell, what was the man? Johnny B. The black guy, Barry. He played the guitar. I forget. Never mind. Anyway, he got locked up for being with an underage girl who didn't even end up marrying his cousin or something. Right? Anyway, I'm saying all that to say that there cannot be. If the question is, can we separate the greatness and what the person has done for the culture, or like Bill Cosby, or we're talking about R. Kelly in the sense of him being a genius in music and still separating that from him, separating the music from the man. I believe that we can do that. But in the sense, if we're going to say that a person used their platform and was a predator, then everybody has to be labeled that way. And the reason that is because the average woman that Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Deshaun Watson, or any celebrity, or even a female celebrity at a high stature, the normal person that they can get, I'm not even in the room with, because I'm not living in that world. You get what I'm saying? So that means that everybody that's using that platform, everybody.
So I think what you're talking about, I see you, Lavelle, is more like social status. being in the same room. When I say R. Kelly appeared to be more predatory, for one, seeking out younger women and families based on their socioeconomic status.
Yeah, see, I don't think the nigga that smart. To be honest,
It wasn't about being smart. It was about I have an appetite for young women.
But
so where are young women going to be?
And I get that, but what I'm saying is,
going where they're going to be.
But look at the team.
I'm dressing the same way as this person at the high school. My whole thing with Bill was you going to the Playboy Mansion. It's drugs everywhere. Everybody's just we cutting the BS. Everybody doing drugs. Hugh done already handpicked all the girls. They out there.
Yeah, but he ain't smashing all them chicks at the Playboy Mansion, though, bro. We talking about other females outside of that.
And he's in the just like my thing is that, and he's in the bar, or he's at this Hollywood house party. R. Kelly, clearly his people said, high school let out, we riding around by the high school. This is where he wants to go. If you want a certain type of person or you want a certain type of environment, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to go. This is what I'm looking for. And the other thing,
jump in there.
Hold on.
That's
Here's my other thing I want to say when I'm talking about the legacy and what was going on. And I got to, because this is the one that gets me. We talked about separating Bill Cosby from Heathcliff High School. And kind of like Kev said, when I look at the Cosby show, because he was the main provider, he was the big name, so it was his show. And you look at what it showed, what the Huxtables represented then and what they can still represent now. When you look at the video and listen to the words of age ain't nothing but a number, nigga, you in a high school gym with an underage girl, y'all singing a song talking about some age ain't nothing but a number. You 20-something years old, she 14, 15.
So,
I'm just talking about if you.
I get where you at, but musically, the song is wrote for Aaliyah. So I get where you're going.
Who wrote the song?
He wrote it, but what I'm saying is you have to understand, as a writer and a producer, you're writing a song that caters to the artist. So it's not. So it's. I get what you're saying. I'm not knocking that. I can see how that's being seen, but at the same time, the song is written for her based on conversation that they have, and she's singing the song right
to him. You get what I'm saying? You handing.
But how many other?
It's
people,
just like
I get the situation though. But I'm saying, how many other people? How many other producers and beat makers are in the videos with the artist?
Puffy in the air. What Suge say? Puffy in the air.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things been said about Puffy sleeping with the artist too.
Puffy is him and Suge are one and the same. Puffy was a finesse because Suge was the same way. Suge gonna make you get out of line. Suge was on some straight prison stuff. He gonna make a man give him oral sex in front of the whole room and come off like I ain't gay, but you a punk. Puffy's whole thing was I got you. He probably had him drunk, high, whatever, just like they say the tape that Wendy Williams got. Oh, but I'm a bend you over. I'm gonna bend you over, but I'm the man. It's a sense of power. They was using prison.
Woman Mace had something going too.
They were both using prison, the whole prison mind thing, and bringing it to the music industry so I can always power over you. You supposed to be this tough gangster rapper. Get out of line with me for real, and I'm gonna tell everybody because I'm already. You gotta think about it from Puffy's standpoint. I'm already when you was in that era of gangster rap. I'm already Puffy dancing around in the video, swirling, shiny suit man, and you the big gangster rapper. So when you come out and say, if I bent you over, I'm a punk too. So y'all already thought I was a punk, but you the tough guy. You missed the AK-47. You let me bend you over. So who's the bigger punk? That's a whole mind game. I do not disagree with you with that whole Puffy and Suge thing. I do, but I understand their whole thing was it was a straight business tactic. It was 100% business tactic, and it was social. And like you said, it was socio-economic, because this is how I got some of y'all in these bad
Yeah,
contracts.
I just still feel like, man, I'm sorry.
Let Lavelle hit on that because I'm gonna look something up real quick.
I'm trying to connect the dots. We
No,
gotta take that
don't
off.
worry about it.
But I get, I
don't want to mess your world up.
And I get what, and even Lavelle hit on it in the beginning, if you kind of really go back to scripture. But the whole part is, the only way you can take it back to scripture is, and we don't know this, is if these people really repented for what they did, and really like 100% repented. But then to repent, I don't know if I can go to court and put up a defense for what I did.
See,
instead I'm just going in and taking accountability for my actions.
And see, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying when Lavelle brought that up and he talked about Saul, right? I'm not discrediting the word, not at all. But it's two different categories, though. If we're going to sit here and say on the pod tonight that we're approaching this from the biblical standpoint, right? Now we start talking about a person repenting. I'm be honest, I don't give a damn. I'm not talking about none of that. The question is can I separate Bill Cosby from Heathcliff Huxtable and the impact that Bill Cosby in creating the character of Heathcliff Huxtable and the Huxtable family, creating a different world, the impact that it made on the culture, can I separate that from his personal issue? Can I separate the fact that Deshaun Watson is a phenomenal football player, quarterback? Can I separate that from Deshaun Watson as the man? Deshaun Watson ain't made no impact on the culture in no damn way. Well, I'm sorry, I won't say that. Maybe he has. Wherever he's from, he may be the guy, right? Small town, you never know. All I'm saying, though, when we look at Bill Cosby, we look at R. Kelly, we can look at Richard Pryor. They all effed up, right? What impact did they make, and can we still hold that? Watch it. So this will be the easiest thing for me, and then you go ahead, Lavelle.
I already gave you a simple answer.
So Kev, do you listen to R. Kelly songs still?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I listened to TV too the other day.
There you go. Right now, watch it. He just dropped he in prison. He just dropped a new song.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. People say, like, okay, for instance, Breakfast Club. Kurt Franklin gets on Breakfast Club, and
That was
then
some bullshit.
and then sat here and said that we can't separate the two.
Well, we did it for you because
Well, I'm saying, you
had a porn addiction.
You had a porn addiction. Fred Hammond cheated on his wife and came out on BET and asked for the gospel community in the church to support him, right? Because the wife took some of that money from F. Hammond Music. So all I'm saying is, you gonna get on. I'm not gonna do that because I'm not trying to get all tied into the whole gospel music thing with Kurt Franklin, all that kind of stuff. I'm simply saying when statements like that are being made, it bothers me because you're not gonna sit here and tell me, well, yeah, I never saw any of that stuff. Man, come on, man. You trying to tell me when R. Kelly came to the studio, it being the top dog that he was
You ain't
in
see
the
all
industry,
young girls
you ain't see no girls around him. Listen, I'm telling you straight up right now, I got connections to people that played for R. Kelly and same background for R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And these people stand by what they say. Now, unless they lying to me, I'm not sitting here trying to say that he didn't do none of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here okaying none of that stuff. I just find it ironic that all these people, man, the John Legends of the world, the Jill Scotts, you know, all these people, Anthony Hamilton, all these artists, all of a sudden want to turn on him. But come on, man, you was in the studio. You was in the studio with him, rocking his music.
No.
You was doing all of that.
And that goes
He
back to what I
writing
said
hit
before.
after hit after hit.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
If they were really down with him like that, he should have gotten help a long time ago.
That's what I'm
Somebody
saying.
said, I wasn't with you on that.
He
No,
sat here. Even the song before, he dropped the song right before. I think it came out right before the first part of the Surviving R. Kelly piece came out on Netflix. He dropped the song that you can only get it on YouTube. It's called "I Admit It," where he talked about. He said, the lyrics say, "I admitted I did it." He said, "I admit that I'm illiterate, like I don't have the education. I admit that I have been in relationships with some of my fans, with some of my fans that I didn't need to be in. Like he openly admitted.
And here's my problem with that. Everybody, and this is excluding present company, people are like, man, damn, man, that's a good song. Instead of looking at it as a good song, look at it as his testimony. And somebody that's a part of his support system should have been like, yo, bro, like, is this something that you need? He's made multiple songs where he has cried out for help, and people are so enamored by the music that they're not listening to the message.
No, if you look
you know what I'm saying? All right, that's all I'm gonna say. Cause I'm not looking.
My fault.
But
if you look at the what's the series Trapped in the Closet, that's self-explanatory. He just gave you everything that he see. Don't think that. Listen, the genius behind him of what he's creating. It's no different from us listening to a rapper called Boosie. Boosie is not he ain't no Hove, you know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. But people love Boosie. Why do they love Boosie?
They love
Boosie is strictly rapping off of his personal life of things he went through. He's probably one of the most straight up rappers out there.
Got like a cult following.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. So when you're looking at, I'm giving that example of Boosie compared to R. Kelly. The songs that he's writing he's always been telling you where he's at mentally, what's going on. But like you said, people are so enamored that he is this great artist and the songs and Stepping in the Name of Love. I'm like, yeah, he gonna write Stepping in the Name of Love because he's from Chi-Town. You know what I'm saying? But when he do the You Save Me song, that's when I know he saved. Like he telling you about all the other stuff that I done messed up on, but God is saying you hanging out with Kurt Franklin, ain't nobody trying to help you out.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback. I said I wasn't gonna say that.
Sorry.
Last thing, Lavelle. Like for Kirk Franklin to say that after his testimony and after what he admitted to, looking in the camera, that's some bitch nigga shit, bro. Like, because I dare you condemn that man for what he's done and say all these things when you openly admitted to having a porn addiction. Prior to that, where's your level of grace that people gave you that you should have gave to him?
So here's
I'm done with that.
Here's my knock, because you have to answer this, and we got to start getting real. Because we kind of talked about this the other week. Where is the difference between you giving somebody grace, and I'm only giving you grace because I know I'm dirty? Because that's what I heard. Because I know Kurt Franklin, I know I got this porn addiction. This is what I talked about with the pastors the other week. When I use the example of the pastor knowing that the praise and worship leader is a homosexual, but the homosexual knowing that you got a girlfriend and you married. So now we're both giving each other grace. Where is the accountability at? From Kurt Franklin's standpoint is what I said. If you saying, hey, I had a porn addiction, I talked to my wife about it, I went out, I got some help, I no longer had this porn addiction, I prayed to God, I've been delivered from this. Now, I can still hold you accountable, the person sitting across the table from me, you still sleeping around, you still doing drugs, you still doing all this stuff that you know you ain't got no business doing. Extending grace, once you, and here's I think where people get grace mixed up. Once you, it's like they say, hey, first step is that you have to identify you have a problem. Once you identify you have a problem, you continue to do the same thing. I'm not extending you grace. Now I'm being an enabler. And we got to get that right in the church, because you admitted out of your mouth. It ain't me, because it's different once I say, Fred has a problem, Fred has a problem, Fred has a problem. Why does Fred keep on doing this? We all saying it. Until you admit it, then you sit back and you look at yourself, or you look at the situation and you go, okay, I see what y'all was talking about. I have a problem. That's step one. Once you get right there with anything else, if you continue to go back to this problem, I extended grace when I knew you had the problem, but I knew you couldn't see it. Once you saw it, you know better, you do better. Once you saw that you have this problem, I know that I got this problem, and I continue to do it. I don't have to continue to extend grace. Now, the Bible also says you got to hold each other accountable. We stop at extending grace, and we never get to holding each other accountable. And part of the reason is because we all know that everybody falls short.
I mean, I hear you. I'm with you. I think the issue that I have with the whole Kirk Franklin piece is that he said all this after the fact. Ain't nobody gonna sit here and try to tell me you've been in the studio, you've been hanging out with Kels. He was coming to your shows, all that kind of stuff, all your gospel concerts. You openly said that he was coming, everything like that. And all of a sudden now, the man locked up, and then you done got yourself allegedly together, and then you come out on Breakfast Club, out of all places.
You was on Breakfast Club. Why are you on Breakfast Club?
That's
Why are you even
I'm saying,
Why you even on
that's
Breakfast
what I'm
Club?
saying. It's industry.
But that's a problem.
Because
You can take it out of industry,
even though it's gospel, what I say,
LaBelle,
what I
close
say,
out.
even though it's gospel,
No, let LaBelle
it's
close
still
out. I'm getting
entertainment.
mad.
The only thing that separates gospel music from any other genre is the fact of who we sing about or who we claim that we support, that we love, and the lifestyle that we live. This is why Snoop Dogg can create a gospel record and have all the gospel artists on it. They see where his heart is, and they say, okay, cool, Snoop, you're a genuine good guy. I'm not knocking all that, but I'm simply saying this is why anybody can do a gospel record.
Hey, what's the name signed to Cash Money?
Nah, Paul Morton, he not on there.
No. It's the one dude, right?
PJ Morton, the son.
You always knew, you like, man, he gonna cross over to R&B or hip hop real soon. I'm gonna find it and let you know. But yeah, like
here's the point that I want everybody to kind of take away and what we want.
And then let LaBelle close us out, because LaBelle been holding on to those thoughts for 10 minutes.
Close out.
Sorry, LaBelle.
I ain't get all R. Kelly stuff off my chest.
Here's what
I'm tired of these people going against R. Kelly. I can't take it no more.
But it ain't even. It's not even. I'm taking it bigger than R. Kelly.
I'm not talking about you, bro.
No.
I'm and people out there.
I get what you're saying, because you talking about me, because I don't know about the R. I know I can't listen to Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. I know we can't listen to, because we already know what we're doing on that. We know what we're doing. That's good. But the whole thing, when it comes back to, at the end of the day, for all of us, and I think what the podcast is meant for, the conversation is, are you in circles where you're not holding people accountable? Because every situation we talked about, the common denominator was the people around them weren't holding people accountable. The other thing that Kevin hit on is that how much will you let money dictate what you will and what you won't accept? When he talked about the settlements and the payouts, when we talked about it's completely out there, R. Kelly was providing financial stuff for these people's family in change for their daughter. So the financial part, what won't you do for money? Where is your line? Even when you talk about Kirk Franklin, all these people who work with R. Kelly, because some of them, which is why, quite frankly, they're saying that R ain't in as much trouble as he should be, is because he still got that list of names who was with him.
Listen, he can already spill the beans with a lot of these cats.
Who was with him, which is the same thing with the Jeffrey Epstein, why he mysteriously hung himself in a cell, because that list. Woo! They already got the
in a federal pen where he was on 24-hour watch.
Somehow he was able to hang himself. He already got the queen before she died. Put the one son over they said in the will he had to take care of the dogs.
And the cameras was off that night.
The camera.
Okay, LaBelle, close us out, bro.
So
I know you got stuff to say. You do. It was several things. We gonna shut it.
All that's been said is done. I was actually just gonna close it with what Stefan just said. You have to have a circle of people that's gonna hold you accountable at the end of the day. When we were on a little break, I was telling about the 3 P's. I'm actually gonna make it 4 P's. It is 4 P's in that it just in life. It is power, position, people, and possession. Possession, power, people, and position. You have all of those, you can do a lot of things. We see that in our politics, we see that in our government, we see that in the entertainment industry, we see it in everyday life. Everybody got their skeletons in their closet. And in this culture today, which I'm going to go a little bit ahead and say a reason why a lot of these cats and folks are...
Did you say cats? Like cool cats?
Yeah.
1970?
Look, I think a lot of reasons these folks are doing this stuff is because these people got other stuff on them. And two, it's just a matter of time and they trying to clean up their stuff now before something else comes out on them. Because I agree, especially, we weren't there. So I don't know since we were talking about Kirk Franklin, I don't know if Kirk Franklin knew the extent of everything that was happening with R. Kelly. I'm not gonna jump to say that. But what I am gonna say is he heard all the news too.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is a so-called friend of his, then what friends should do is reach out to say, hey, is this stuff true? And then let's try to figure out some stuff. Not saying that he didn't try to. I don't know. But we're all on one accord, if I'm not mistaken. I believe all of us are on one accord
We don't know no more.
to say that we can separate the entertainers from the person who they are or what they did. The Cosbys, the Kellys of the world, the Jacksons of the world. We can separate their talents and their instruments and their gifts outside of what they've done. I think we're all in agreement with
Yeah,
that.
I'm with you on that.
Okay. A little bit. I will say,
I can do some more digging.
I will say when it comes to just the R. Kelly piece, and then I'm done. I think because of how big it is, there is an
You trying to be
issue.
like? You trying to be like?
I'm just trying to be politically correct.
He shot that gun on the other part.
Yeah.
And I ain't got it. He got it.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, I think in
You got the clip on the left.
in our culture, in our history, in our culture, there is a bigger magnitude when it. Sorry, y'all. He trying to cough. He was trying to hold.
Y'all
it in.
forgive me. I gotta sign this.
He was trying to hold it in. What I was saying, no, I think in our culture, there is a bigger piece when it comes to anybody, especially adults, dealing with underage children. I don't care if it's drugs, I don't care if it's the Hefners of the gigolos and pimps of the world. There's a bigger magnitude in our culture that you don't F with children. You don't F with underage children. And I think because his track record is with underage girls, it magnifies the issue. Harvey Weinstein is just as predatory as R. Kelly.
If not more.
If not more.
Yeah, if not more.
But his magnitude is because probably 99% of that, we don't know unless something else comes out, but all of them were older age. There's one thing, at least I know, you ain't gonna F with my child. And most people don't like when you mess with children.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this big sensation is with dogs,
Okay, I don't like none of this crap.
you don't mess with children. And it's not to the extreme of dogs, but I'm just saying I've seen people go crazy for dogs.
Nothing sells like puppies and
But
nothing
it ain't
sells like
nothing
puppies and babies.
like a child. And I think that's just the magnitude of it. So you just have to have that circle to hold each other accountable. And just realize ain't nobody perfect. Nobody is perfect. But find that circle who can hold each other accountable. And then hopefully, if you do have a problem, get some help.
There you go. Hey, it's been another episode of Four Good Brothers. Hey, next week we're gonna be 100% live, Facebook and YouTube. We're gonna have a nice little conversation. Probably gonna do some current events. But what we want you to do is be here with us. Be in the comments so we can interact with all of y'all. Hey, until next time, we holla at you.